Hello and welcome to the official Hacks podcast from HBO Max and Same Boat Studios. I'm Paul W. Downs, co-creator and co-showrunner of Hacks. Joining me today against the advice of their healers are the other brilliant Hacks showrunners, creators, and divas, Jen Statsky and Lucia Aniello.
Hi, husband.
Hey.
Hey, girlies. How are
girly.
you? How's it going? Good?
Really good.
Really good.
I'm a little hungry, but I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little tummy rumbling.
Well, I'm going to feed you right up because guess what? Later this episode, we're going to be joined by none other than Jeff Rosenberg.
Oh, yum.
The AD of
delicious.
Hacks, the assistant director, and also the director of this episode, The Amazing Race.
Wow, that'll fill me right up. Now, episode 5 is titled The Amazing Race, and it was written by the wonderful Pat Regan, who has been a writer on Hacks since season 1. We love Pat.
He's
Hello,
also an
Pat.
actor on the show.
And he's also an actor on
In
the
this
show
episode.
in this episode. DJ, with the help of Ava and Kiki, convinced Deborah to compete on The Amazing Race.
Plus, if we win, we get $1 million, which covers my allowance for the year.
Well, honey, I think all that money goes to charity.
Oh, fuck, really? Ugh.
Okay, now we are going to say hello to somebody who's very special on our show. He has been with us since day one. He is our first AD, and he has also directed 2 episodes of this series, and he's a producer on the show as well. Jeffrey Rosie Rosenberg, and he is the man. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Welcome, Jeffrey.
Hello, friends. So exciting to be here.
Wow.
Welcome to the pod.
Everyone in the engineering booth is standing. They're on their feet clapping. They know
There's
you.
a line outside on Hollywood
There's fist
Boulevard.
pumps.
People came to see you.
They're saying, what's the concert? And I said, Jeff is hitting the pod.
Let's just start and say this. The show wouldn't happen without Jeff.
That's so true.
That's so true.
The show wouldn't happen without Rosie.
You know, we work, Paul, Jen, and I'm going to just admit it, we work really, really hard. The only person who might work harder is Jeffrey Rosenberg for the show. Now, wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
I would almost agree in that when I'm like feeling overworked or like this is insane that I'm working 7 days a week. I've told you this, but I do think Jen, Paul, and Lucia are working harder than me. I do remind myself of that fact.
Well, we all are putting in 7 days a week for about 6 months.
It is a full and total commitment.
First of all, Jeff directed this episode. Jeff directed The Amazing Race, and we want to talk about all your incredible directing work on this episode. You have been the AD on this show since day one, as Lucia said. You guys have won 2 DGA awards for your work.
So true. We have.
And you do an amazing job. And so before we get into your directing, I think that people should hear about how difficult your job is, which is an AD not only runs the set, which is hard enough with the hooligans we've got.
She's talking about me and Lucia.
I'm talking about Paul and his...
I get looped.
And his
We're the hooligans.
Yeah. But what you also schedule the entire show in a way that is so intricate and crazy. Like, for people who don't know, we don't shoot Hacks in order. We don't go like, we're shooting episode 1, we're shooting episode 2, we're shooting episode 3.
I wish.
It would be way easier.
Everyone
we
wishes.
Shoot all parts of the season at all different points. Basically, like they shoot a movie to be the most efficient. And the person who schedules this and figures out where things need to go, when things need to happen, can this day accommodate this scene, which is 3 pages, and this scene, which is 6, and Hannah has a wardrobe change, and Jean needs to change her wig, is Jeff Rosenberg. And it's an incredible feat. And you did it for 5 seasons on the show to an incredible job, and the show would not have happened without you.
So how is that?
Obviously, very much appreciate that. It's kind of an insane endeavor. Essentially, the first AD job is twofold. So even early stages, like when you guys put together an outline, like the first people who are seeing that are usually myself and then Nate Young and Morgan Sackett, our producers.
Lucky.
And then getting it to locations of production.
That's what we write in every subject when we say an outline.
Spoiler alert. Here's the outline.
And so, and I'll usually get them and just immediately, because at this point I know the show so well, I'm guessing page counts, which people are kind of like is crazy because a lot of times we won't have the script for a while, but we need to start like locking in locations. We need to figure out what we're going to shoot where. So that's a huge part of it is the schedules. But then there's things like, you know, you'll make this schedule and think it's perfect, and then you'll find out an actor has a prior commitment somewhere else. Or we have, at this point, we have so many amazing guest stars that are on the show, but they're not with us every day. So we don't have them whenever we want them. So a lot of times they just like can't be there.
You are one part clairvoyant because you have to predict how many pages will be dedicated to a scene. One part, let's be honest, savant because you have to like actually do the math of like how this works out timing wise. Are you going to donate your body to science? I need to look at your brain.
Yeah,
honestly.
your brain, I can't. Why are you not working for the U.S. government?
I know. You should be like an army general or a mathematician.
That's what's so interesting about Rosie.
Well,
is
I
that
was
he is a math genius, literally a math champion. Am I right?
Yes, in middle school.
This
But
is
he's also
okay.
but he's also a filmmaker.
My like counselor in high school told me I should be a college math professor.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I want to be a playwright and a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, that's insane.
Wow.
And I said Chekhov was a doctor.
Okay.
That was like my going line.
that's
now
a
that's the
line.
episode title of this
Chekhov
pod.
was a
Chekhov was a doctor.
So
And
it was
surprise, the doctor was Chekhov. Wow.
So a lot of it's just like a complex
Damn.
like math puzzle. So it's like the beautiful mind. A lot of times like
Okay, let's not be bragging.
okay, we'll go with Charlie
The thing
Day.
is that you have seen our one-liners are a beautiful mind. They are
They
crazy.
are. They are.
Everything's moving. And so a lot of times it'll be, especially like during COVID, it would be like someone tested positive or something like that. So many times on this show, which has been forged in fire, it's truly amazing that we've completed it and just a testament to everyone's amazing hard work. But like someone will come to me and say like, oh, this person has COVID or, oh, this location fell through or something like that. And so many times it'll be, we can't shoot tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'll always be like, give me 5 minutes. And I like take my computer and I just go somewhere quiet and just start moving things around. And that a lot of times that'll
And
end
there's
up.
no tears when he's doing this.
No.
so.
There's like intense concentration.
I would have a
It's
breakdown
intense.
every single time.
Oh, I would have shingles.
Yeah.
I could not.
Yeah.
And what happens oftentimes is then we bring in Rob Tokars, our production designer, and Jen Lucard, our set decorator, and say, okay, what if it's on a build, if it's already on our stages, what can shoot tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then they get moving.
So like if something goes awry, which it
Yes.
often does in television production, usually there's a small group that's usually myself, Nate, either Mark or Lena, who are our production managers, Kyle and Danny are location managers, and then Rob Tokars, production designer, Janine, our art director, Jen Lucard. We like meet in an office. I say, okay, give me 10 minutes. I go into my office and just sort of stare at my computer and meditate until I can come up with a solution. And then we like reconvene and it'll be like, Rob, can you have that set ready next Tuesday?
Right.
No. Okay, that idea doesn't work.
Right.
Can you have that other set ready the following Wednesday? No. Okay, cool. What about that bathroom? I can have the bathroom ready. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just you're constantly moving pieces around. You're constantly like prioritizing. Like a lot of times I'll ask you guys like, what's the most important location? Like, does this need to be here versus like when I see an outline, if there's a lawyer's office or a bathroom or something like that, I'm ecstatic because I'm like, that's a floating piece. So if I have like
You're
a
like, we
floating
can find
thing,
a bathroom almost anywhere.
yeah.
And for like, it's a boba shop overlooking a waterfall. That's harder.
yes. So when you have like those specific ones, so you build it off of that. And then the trade-offs, like with like the autograph convention, there's a lot of scenes there. So the conversations are, if we spend 4 days at the autograph convention versus 3 days at the autograph convention, if
And
we
we
can,
should have done it in 4 and we did it in 3.
yes, or in this
That's
episode,
usually
Story
that's
of
almost,
hacks.
I was going to say it's almost always the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's same with Who's Making Dinner. The last episode should have been probably 3 and I think it was 2.
yeah,
Right?
it should have been. I mean, it probably should have been 4.
And it was 2. I mean,
Yeah.
we do really move quite quickly. Our crew moves really fast. We try to get a lot done in a day, but it's really because it's really a very ambitious show.
It's an insanely ambitious show. Like I've talked a lot about how I've done quite a lot of 30-minute comedy, and this is
Name them.
Again, let's not brag. But
brag,
prove it.
brag,
But prove
go
it.
ahead.
Prove it.
Well, I did The Good Place with Jen. I worked on Veep. I worked on Documentary Now. Recently, Man on the Inside, Platonic,
Sunnyside.
Sunnyside, and then like Shameless, Goliath. Those are ours.
Yep.
But, you know, of the 30-minute comedies, we are in this weird space of like prestige comedy is what I call it, where there's
Your
still
words.
He does.
Your
Yeah.
words.
There's an expectation of scheduling and initial budgeting and stuff from the studio of like, this is a 30-minute comedy. You can shoot this in 5 days. And it's just like laughably not possible. I remember scheduling the first block. It was like we're shooting 3 episodes over, I think, 18 days. And it was the helicopter landing in Palmdale, which was like something you would never do on a 30-minute network comedy. You would come up with some solution for it that is not practically me on a walkie with a helicopter pilot timing it with Jean approaching holding an umbrella, which, by the way, she really wanted to get on that helicopter, but we had to stop her. She is ambitious.
She's also ambitious. That's true. Everyone in this show is ambitious.
Like what I do is, I mean, it's only as strong as your team.
And that's kind of your catchphrase is go team.
Go team. I finish every email with go team. I finish most texts with it. It truly is a team effort. And at this point, we've all been together for so long that it's a family at this point. Like, that's not fake or facetious. If you're like on Instagram seeing all of us with welled up eye emojis, like the amount of people just crying on set throughout this last season, mostly Hannah, but everybody else as well. It's emotional. It's the longest I've ever been on a show. It's the most I've ever felt emotionally connected to a show. And it's my favorite show on TV, which I can more comfortably say because I'm at least like one layer removed.
I can say it too. We're on the pod. It's my favorite show too.
It's my favorite show. So like when I get a script that I'm like, how the hell are we going to produce this? How are we going to make it? I hate nothing more than telling you guys like, we can't shoot that scene. Like it is like I will give up my weekends. I will give up my evenings to figure out a way to do it. And that's everyone. Like, that's the entire crew.
Also, our show is so ambitious that Rosie will take the rest of the scenes for the day often and divide them up and go, you have 10 minutes to shoot this side of the scene. You have 10 minutes to shoot this side. You have 5 minutes for this. You have 5 minutes for the wide. You do crazy math and you write it out sometimes. Like, because when we're in it, it's like this game day. You know, everything we've been talking about is like the coach prepping for game day. But then when we're there on the day shooting in the game, you're also very much helping us be like, keep us on schedule so that the show doesn't go millions and millions of dollars over budget. And that's an incredibly tricky thing, too, for you to go, oh, I think you'll need X amount of time for this side, this side, this side, this side. And it's
also
amazing.
Incorporates the time we need to light it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those assumptions.
And so a lot of it, and it's constantly shifting because at any point, you know, a sound pack can, you know, go down or something like that. So at any moment, the minutes can shift within that.
Randomly, you might not have time for something just because of like, sometimes, for example, like, hey, we need to be done with this for the next 10 minutes because tomorrow we don't want to push call and tomorrow's sun is going to run out. So tomorrow you can't go over, not because of money, but because you'll run out of sunlight and it won't match if you shoot
so much forward thinking. There's so much like court vision you need.
And that's why I sort of like keep picturing like the beautiful mind thing because it's just numbers everywhere.
Yeah. And you know, this is the thing is I feel like people always want to talk about working with the actors and the story and the character evolution. And those things are all beautiful and important to talk about. But that's like the 10% almost. It's like 90% of what we do is like the logistics, the like block shooting, the location stuff, the like all the work we have to do that is so not
invisible.
Sexy.
It's invisible.
It's invisible and not sexy to get to the best version of that 10%. And people just never really talk about it. And I, as a Capricorn, kind of want to be talking about it all the time because it is how you make the art.
So you get to the sexy stuff.
How you get to the sexy. Now let's get to the sexy. D'Amazing Race. You directed this episode. Do you know why?
Well, first of all, I'm a psychotic Amazing Race fan.
That's it.
So that is a massive part of it.
And we knew that. You've seen it every season.
Yes. And I would say that it's truly my favorite like elevator pitch for an episode ever. Like I felt like it had to happen. I would ask you guys all the time. Season 4 wrap party, I told Dan Bukatinsky, who's a huge reality show fan, I told him there was a chance that an Amazing Race episode would happen in season 5, and if I didn't direct it, I would burn the studio down.
Wow. Like, God, that was the one.
I don't think I told you guys this until right now. That's how badly I wanted to direct this episode. And on top of being a huge fan of Amazing Race, it was also such a specific episode that involved so much prep that as someone who works on the show, I was like, I can help here.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were
Because
uniquely qualified to direct
and
this
like and
episode.
when you get into like the middle of a season, that's the point. Middle of the season, I think for you guys can be like the biggest sort of stress point in terms of everything coming together because you're still working on scripts. You're starting to edit the early episodes, and there's just every part of the process sort of overlaps the most in the middle of the season. So that's also where, from my end, I'm like, now I can just walk up to you and be like, here are 6 different designs of the logo.
Right.
Here are what the cars could be like. Here's a bunch of different hills in the middle of Los Angeles that I've been hiking at 6 a.m. to try to find where to
You checked out
do
a
it.
lot of hills.
I walked a lot of hills.
The hill was a big moment.
The hill was a huge one. And it's, you have to find a hill that the cheese will actually roll down. And like the property department is manufacturing that cheese. And we're talking about what type of cheese it is. And like Jane and Lexi, our prop masters, are just like, they have like fabricators making breakaway cheese carriers and magnetic ones that can fall apart and then just full hard plastic ones. The amount of specific things was just so much. And then like once I was told I was directing it, I for 3 months watched nothing but Amazing Race.
Wow.
I rewatched episodes. It drove my family insane.
I was going to say rewatch because you'd seen it all.
Yes, but I was
Wow.
just like going back and I was watching it from a different perspective
Of course.
in that like I'm taking notes of like these taxi cabs didn't have Amazing Race stickers on them. These ones did. You can see the crew here. You
Whoa.
can see what's going on. And Elise from Amazing Race was such an incredibly helpful resource.
Elise Doganieri, the co-creator of The Amazing Race.
With her husband, Bertram.
The first Zoom I did with them, I was like, okay, great. So when they were on the Santa Monica Pier and the dad fell and bloodied his leg,
Oh, I remember
did the
that.
medic come right in? Immediately they were like, oh, this guy, like,
He no ball.
he watches and knows our show.
Elise did ask for a restraining order against her.
I presumed she did. I was the
was
level
granted
that made it difficult.
the level of So that part was like as a super
Yes.
fan of the show was the most amazing part.
Fans of The Amazing Race, I think, are going to be so excited to see a peek behind the curtain because you see the crew and how they run around and how they choreograph every shot in a way that when you watch the show and you're a fan of the show, you have no idea that that's how they do it. And it's so cool to have had The Amazing Race help us make that real and do the thing and use their crew to actually do it right is so cool for fans to see.
Yeah, I think one of the really cool things about working with Elise and Phil on this was seeing, even though these are 2 very different shows, I think they are cousins in their ambition.
Ooh,
You know,
I love that.
the Amazing Race is so ambitious. It's so in a way that even watching, we didn't realize until we did this episode how incredibly involved and
Psychotic.
specific and just the what they have done for so many years now is so impressive. There's a reason reality TV is so incredibly popular. Like you're saying, Rosie, there's a community of people who love Amazing Race, love Survivor, love even all the Bravo shows. Like there's so many people behind the scenes of these reality shows working so incredibly hard. I don't think they get the credit they deserve in that people over in the narrative world.
As filmmakers.
As
They are
filmmakers, yes.
Right. They tell story big time.
They tell story in an incredible way that captivates people in a way that can't be denied. So I hope also that what we were trying to do with this episode was pay homage to reality shows and reality crews and people who work on shows like The Amazing Race, because the amount of work behind the scenes put into it is so impressive. So let's get a little bit into the creative of the episode. Why don't
No
we?
more block shooting talk.
I know.
So this episode starts, I think we should talk about, not with The Amazing Race, but with something called the Hospitality Olympics.
Yes.
Now,
Something we fought hard for.
we fought hard.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of production and the challenges of production, this was a cold open that we were very much asked to cut hundreds and thousands of times.
This
And
was
we-
the toughest one for me because I have like 3 different hats on this show.
Yep.
And the directing hat so desperately wanted it.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
producing hat
Wanted it
understands
gone.
it's a
Yeah,
problem.
Yeah.
It was.
So Deborah, Damien, Josefina, and Marcus are there scouting new hires for the Diva Casino.
Talent, really.
In events like speed mopping, vacuuming, luggage rack stacking, and bed making. And now people watching may go, is this real? Did they make this up? And folks, we didn't.
Ripped from the headlines.
Real as hell.
This is a real competition that is held in Las Vegas, the Hospitality Olympics.
You can check it out on YouTube. There are some very bad videos.
Amateur videos.
Okay,
Thank you, amateur. Not bad,
And
amateur.
some people like that voyeurism.
Oh, amateur is
Yes.
hot, so that's not... bad is the wrong word. Strike it from the record.
When we were asked hundreds, thousands, millions of times to cut it, what we came back with was one, she and Marcus are making this new hotel casino, the Diva, and we just want that journey to feel real. And so we thought it would be important to see how they were staffing. And also because it is a real thing that happens, we thought that was especially funny.
Yeah, it's a great element in Vegas.
Always wanted to do it. And also we got to bring back some of our favorite actors. We got Pat Regan as Prion, who's also an Amazing Race super fan. And then, of course, we had Joe Mandy back as Ray, the Palmetto's boy. And also we have another fun little cameo in there, which is Pat Regan is playing with a girl named Sophie. Now, who is Sophie to you, Jeffrey?
That is Sophie Missercola, who is our key set PA, a huge, huge part of the behind-the-scenes crew. She essentially is, in terms of like our on-set AD department, she's essentially like our third in command. And I was very eager and excited to ask her to do this, which she was appreciative of. And then her girlfriend actually is simultaneously a huge Pat Regan fan.
Oh, really?
A psychotic Hacks fan.
Okay, we love
And so I
psychotic
told
Hacks fans, by the
Sophie,
way.
whatever you do not tell Alex you're in the episode.
Good.
So
Right.
they probably watched it last night, and hopefully Sophie videotaped Alex. I cannot wait to find out.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
And she's really good.
She's
really
funny.
good in it.
She's so funny.
She's so flummoxed by Prion's
Yeah.
anal retentive attitude.
Go, Sophie, go! Go! I did not want to bring you tonight. Prove me wrong.
He's a surgeon. Quick but measured, efficient but not careless.
Hold that talk! Hospital quarters! We went over this, Sophie! Jesus Christ!
Which is like also Pat.
I think he
having a
improvised that.
He improvised that,
Yeah.
and that is Pat's deep reservoir of like reality TV, Real Housewives.
yes.
So then Deborah agrees to go on The Amazing Race with DJ because The Amazing Race is an important milestone in DJ's sobriety, as we find out. Phil is her higher power.
And I think that resonates for many people. He is
Resonates
such
for me.
an amazing guy. Just like his vibe. I've talked to him on the phone for the first time for like almost an hour the first time I talked to him because really talking him through like what the show's about and how we feel about Amazing Race and why this episode would mean a lot to us. And he was so on board.
The Amazing Race in general is such an interesting show to me in that competitive reality shows, it's usually like, can this person beat this person? Can this person eliminate this person? And so much of what's incredible about the show is it's really about these relationships and like challenging yourself in a way. And so I think that's why it works so well for the story. And Phil sort of embodies that, where like Phil, for a lot of people who are huge fans of the show, it's not that far of a stretch for her to be like, Phil got her through sobriety.
Amazing Race got me sober.
Excuse me, I think $400,000 worth of rehab got you sober.
Nope, that failed. Episodes of The Amazing Race got me through some really dark times, okay? Phil Kogan is my higher power, and you promised me that if I got sober, we would go on it together.
And it did feel very like in the world of the show because as we've always said, Deborah being an amalgamation of Joan Rivers and Lucille Ball and Phyllis Diller, you know, Joan and Melissa did The Apprentice. It does feel like that is exactly like the kind of person that would do this. But for Deborah, not only is it helpful to her daughter, who really wants to do it, but also it's helpful to her. Because at this moment, she needs to get some fresh relevance, as Kiki points out. And this casting announcement might do that very thing.
For sure.
Now, things obviously don't go so smoothly for DJ and Deborah on The Amazing Race. They have to do the cheese wheel. Well, DJ has to do the cheese wheel challenge. Gets to.
She wants to.
Goat milking. Lots of incredible set pieces as part of this episode. Rosie, would you say there was one that stands out as the most difficult that you had to shoot? Or are they all tied for the worst experience of your life?
So we wound up in a situation where we were in the middle of December. We had to shoot all of the goat challenge and the cheese challenge in one day with basically 7 hours of available light.
Yeah.
What?
Which was like 5 scenes involving stunts and
Can't be
like
done.
it was insane. Most shows would have probably said you need to get rid of one of those 2 challenges.
And They tried to.
And
they tried,
and in the end, it was just kind of like, you have this allotted amount of time.
It turned out
It's
amazing.
such a fun sequence.
It's a great
They're
sequence.
both,
Thank you
the
very much.
cheese challenge and the goat challenge are so funny, so good. Caitlin is unbelievably funny in this entire episode.
She is
Caitlin Olsen,
our
Barb.
absolute dream girl.
Truly incredible. Just like a
Funny.
comedy assassin on like the absolute maximum level. Such a strong dramatic actor too. And her ability to like shift between the two and just seamlessly do it and be in character for all of it. It's just
She's like Jane in that way.
She
Yeah.
really
is like
is.
Jane, yeah.
She could be a Deborah Vance.
Totally.
Because she
Oh, yeah.
she can be so acidic and sharp, but she can show you her soul.
One of the few people that we wrote a character hoping someone would play that character. You know, a lot of these characters were amalgamations of people or just completely made up. But that was one we always thought it would be great if we could get Caitlin Olsen to play this part.
Yeah, and we begged her.
And we begged her, and she said no, and then we paid her.
But so much, I remember that goat day. Like, I remember Jean going, that was Lucille Ball level when Caitlin was improvising all that stuff with the goat.
Don't you remember when I had that past life regression therapy and I found out I was a milkmaid who was secretly a princess? I got this.
Sure.
You have to hold. Okay, well, she's being a bitch. That's not my fault.
Pinch the top of the teat, DJ. The top of the
Hey,
teat.
Mom, if you could shut up for a second, that would help. You're distracting me, okay? What, the top of the teat? What does that mean? Which end is the top?
The cameras are just rolling, and that goat is
Yeah.
the goat was
Improvising.
It was improvising.
Trained
Yeah,
goat.
truly. The goat was
That-
not on script, and so she just rolled with it, and it was incredible. And we were losing light. I remember.
And the sun is literally
Yeah.
like setting
Yeah.
on this hill. The goat is refused. I gave the goat such specific blocking and notes, and it just wouldn't listen. It was really difficult. I mean, and then Caitlin just gets up and starts physically pushing it with like her pelvis. I was like, this is
incredible.
this is somebody
She's
just
so funny.
operating on some cosmic level that's just
She
beyond.
should
I mean,
have her own hit show.
I
Oh, wait.
know.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
got one.
We should have another
true
show
that-
that's run literally for 100 years.
And we should also give it up for some of our guest stars in this episode. Jordan Firstman, who is such a funny comedian, filmmaker, actor, and friend of ours, was great in this episode, added so much to it.
Hi, Deborah. I love you so much. I have to say, I went as you for Halloween all of middle school. Got the fucking shit kicked out of me. Worth it. No, I'm obsessed with you.
Trisha Paytas, who we had heard was a fan of the show, is a perfect, I think, addition and foil for Deborah Vance.
Jordan just told me you do comedy too.
He had to tell you that?
Well, now that I know I'm obsessed, we should totally work together. The blonde comedy girls.
You're a comedian?
Yeah, well, I can also talk really, really, really fast. And what else? Oh, I can do ASMR.
Do you feel that? Do you feel it on the back of your neck? She's major. She's generational talent.
Drew and Jonathan Scott, the Property Brothers. That is a very fun cameo.
Felt like exact and Rosie, you really spearheaded the cameos.
Casting those cameos,
yes.
yeah.
That was on the list of the many fun parts of this. That was like the most exciting for me was myself. And then with casting, we made this crazy spreadsheet of people they would maybe cast on the show. There have been a lot of cameos on Hacks. There have been people playing themselves, things like that, especially like episode 2 has a lot of people. So it was trying to find people that would fall in a different world. Like that was a big one to me. It was like we could have done like 80s and 90s TV stars or things like that, but we had sort of went in that area a lot previously. And so, yeah, when the Property Brothers came up and they were interested, I was like, that's fantastic because that's a different world of famous.
And the other world who
Yeah.
you love is
So I'm a psychotic Cleveland sports fan. I will say, like, the moment in the LA Coliseum with Phil and all the Amazing Race crew members, I met J.R. Smith and Richard Jefferson, members of the 2016 Cleveland Cavalier NBA championship team.
for as many amazing cameos that we get on the show all the time, we get so many passes. Like people are like,
Yes.
oh, on Hacks, you just get anyone you want. I'm like, not even.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
And that's part of what's funny about this show is it's like kind of always a little bit this little train that could. Is that what that is?
Well, okay, this is a good
Little
moment to
engine that
say,
could.
That thank
I
you.
heard a phrase from Jeff Rosenberg, Rosie, who's here with us. He's our guest, guys.
Oh, hello.
Who said something I had never heard before. Can you tell our listeners the way you described our show?
I said that the show was snake bit.
I had never heard that.
I mean, we have been truly like forged in pandemic fire on this show. We started shooting during COVID. For the first 3 seasons, essentially, we were wearing masks every day.
And shields in the beginning.
Masks and shields. We've had, unfortunately, we've had deaths. We've had births. We've had hero location literally burned down season 4. We've had union strikes. The amount of things that have been trying to stop this show from getting made. Toward the end of this past season, when we were filming, there was a lot of like emotional moments where people are talking about like important memories or things they remember from the show. And I always talk about this moment from season 1 where the 4 of us and Adam were walking through the Paramount lot and we had just shut down for like the 3rd time. Things were going crazy. And Jen was like, Rosie, how is this even going to happen? Like, what are we supposed to do? And we keep having these problems. And I very genuinely, because I knew I could feel it right from day one, I was like, this show is too good to not be seen. I was like, we'll figure it out. We're going to make it. It will air. It is going to be great.
I do remember that moment very specifically, and it was very kind of you. You know, we were all scared and worried, and you did say, this is the best thing I've ever worked on. The show is too good not to be seen. It will happen.
Words can't sum up how much I do ultimately appreciate you guys. But
well, you can try.
Well, yeah, that's why we're here. That's the
all right.
pod.
Now's the time.
Let's start with Jen.
No,
We're kidding.
Okay, thank God.
But we feel incredibly grateful. The show, as we started the podcast, would not have happened without you.
Truly.
There's not a lot of people in the world who we are more grateful to than you, truly.
You work really hard.
Yeah, you made it happen. Rosie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for episode 5. This has been the official Hacks podcast with Jen Statsky, Paul W. Downs, and me, Lucia Aniello.
Hacks Podcast is produced by HBO Max in collaboration with Same Boat Studios. Our executive producers are Gabrielle Lewis and Barry Finkel. Our senior producer is Emmanuel Hapsis. The show is mixed by Hannes Brown, and our technical director is In-Sung Hwang. Special thanks to Michael Gluckstadt, Allison Cohen, Sorokach, and Kenya Reyes from the HBO Max podcast team.
You can watch all of Hacks, seasons 1 through 5.5 at this point, on HBO Max. We'll be back next week to dig into episode 6. Until then, goodbye.
Well, you are an evil bitch. I've never felt closer to you.